It was all made up. But here's the end result. The J6 committee, they call it the J6 Select Committee, like select. They're not select, they're scum. So what happens, take a look at them, they're all political hacks. But here's the thing that bothers me. They found out all this stuff was untrue. They found out her story was untrue. The two guys in the car testified. It's ridiculous, they said. It is ridiculous. Can you imagine? They also, I think, said it was the Beast, and it wasn't. It was one of the other ones. But you can't even get your hands through. But to think that I would be taking on two nice young guys simultaneously. All right, Sam, I'm ripping one and ripping the other. Are they? They're crazy. And then I went back to the White House, which I love, and I started throwing hamburgers all over the place. Okay. Finish the story is this. What happened is terrible. They went a year and a half, and Kevin McCarthy, who's a very nice man, he made a mistake because we wanted Jim Banks and Jim Jordan on the committee, and so there'd be like 8 to 7 or something. And called me on this. He said they didn't want Jim Jordan. He's a fighter. They didn't want Jim Banks. He's a fighter. And so Kevin said, we don't want anybody on the committee. We think this committee's a sham. And I understood that was good for a day, but for the 2.5 years, we had nobody to fight for us. In other words, we had a committee. You know who was representing us on the committee? Crying Adam Kinzinger and Liz, the moron Cheney. That was who was on the committee. So these were the two Republicans. Kinzinger, who was a total whack job, and Cheney, who was worse than him. This was so they talk about it was a bipartisan, they call it a bipartisan commission. And I think I'd never liked the idea of not, because even if you didn't have Jim Jordan, who's very good, and Jim Banks, we have a lot of great people that would have been good, and they would have, they would have mixed it up. End result, like they finished their report, they burned and destroyed and deleted everything. Everything. And nobody, and you know why? Because they found out that Nancy Pelosi, it was her fault. She didn't put the security. I offered 10,000 National Guard or military. They found out it was Nancy Pelosi. They found out that the stories about me attacking two very tough guys that are slightly younger than me, just a few years, that wasn't true. They found out that much of it wasn't true, and they were very embarrassed. So the Unselect Committee, I call it the Unselect Committee, which I always thought was a great name because it was a select, I call it the Unselect Committee of Political Thugs. What happened is, think of it, end of the story, they deleted and destroyed all evidence, all documents. There's nothing. And the reason they did it is because they were guilty as hell. It's the greatest cover-up, and the fake news back there will not cover it. They've never even, I think, done a story. In other words, when you go into court, we want that information. There is no information. It's been destroyed. Everything's been destroyed. We have a very crooked government. Remember that. And we're going to straighten it out, and we're going to make it an honest government.